Hi guys, my name is Muyiwa Joshua. You're welcome to yet another installment of the Football Gazette podcast. Well, making a grand second return to the podcast is Victor Olushola. Victor, nice to have you here once again.
I mean it's a great honor to be here. But then, I mean, what are the odds that I'm back here just the weekend after?
After a disastrous,
My
lackluster
God,
performance
after an abysmal
from
and
your first love.
a lackluster performance from the United faithful. I mean, it's sad, but then it is what it is. I bragged in the beginning of the season and I said we're gonna, surprise ourselves. But it looks like at this point
You're now being surprised,
bro,
left, right, and center.
it's almost as if it's a total chaos in the camp of the Red Devils. But
I've always known you to be this very happy man, but I think United is
sad.
really taking its toll on you these
the
days.
truth is, there is no one that is not feeling what is happening at United now. Truth is, we knew it was bad, but we didn't know that it was going to show this early in the season. It's only 6 games into the season, and it's almost as if we don't even know what we are doing yet.
As if nothing was done all through the
It's almost as if we
summer.
are still in the preseason for Man United. In fact, I don't know, but I feel like we should start what we won't talk about today. I do not think it's Man United we want to talk about today.
Well, basically, you actually started that, but there is no way we would have you on the podcast without talking about your first love, Manchester United. But basically, like you said, that's not why we are here. Victor, something is going on
Okay.
right there in the other side of Manchester, the blue side of Manchester
Okay.
this time around, and the media isn't letting enough light into that situation. And that's the relationship, a supposed one that was meant to be a match made in heaven between Pep Guardiola and Phil Foden, which has now gone sour now. I mean, the media, some way, somehow, has actually found a way of focusing their limelight on Chelsea and Manchester United.
Yes.
The rise of Chelsea, the resurgence,
Yes.
and the abysmal performance right there in the red side of Manchester. So now let's talk about Manchester City. What's gone wrong between Pep Guardiola and Phil Foden? It's really not going well for a player who at some point actually got himself the best player.
Yeah, he
of
was
the
actually
season.
the poster boy for Man City.
The poster boy for
Yeah.
Manchester City at some point.
Yeah,
But
he
now
was.
he barely even gets minutes.
And the thing is, Pep Guardiola as a coach is one to switch tactics, is one to want to try out things, is very adaptive to change.
Not very rigid.
Pep Guardiola is not a rigid manager. He's very, very adaptive to change. And he also makes room for that in his teams. If you look at Pep Guardiola from Bayern Munich, back all the way to FC Barcelona, before coming to Manchester City, you notice that this man, at some point in every season of his, finds a way to tweak the team. You might think you have it going, you might think you have figured him out already, and you've seen that, okay, this is the style of play he has, this is what is going for him now, and I can counterplay him so that I can get the best performance from my own team. I feel like what is happening at Manchester City is, if you would agree with me, it was just the beginning of this season we started to see that the relationship had even gone very, very sour. But somewhat in the beginning of last season, Phil Foden had a lot of minutes playing at Manchester City. But then we realized that after winning the Premier League back to back to back, Pep Guardiola has come to realize that Phil Foden, in my own opinion, I do not think it is a good relationship turned sour. No, I do not think that.
Okay.
I feel like it is just Pep Guardiola trying to do something different.
His regular tweaks.
Bringing something different to the Premier League. Now, we agree that not intentionally now, but then he has had to tweak the gameplay for Man City from now till the end of the season because of the absence of Rodri. Now, let's assume that he's a manager who is so rigid and likes to play a particular formation, a particular starting 11, a particular style of play always. When playing with different teams that come with different defensive, formations, you tend to find it very difficult to penetrate all this.
Victor,
all these
I would
teams.
like to disagree with you.
Oh, really?
This is the point.
Okay.
You made mention of Pep Guardiola, always this type of manager who loves
who likes
to
to
have
take
a
things.
different dimension
Yes.
to his
Pep
game.
Guardiola is one that you would call
That's why
a risk taker.
Yes. But I feel Phil Foden has actually attained that level, that standard of being undroppable.
Okay.
For instance, there are some teams whereby we might have very flexible coaches as well.
True.
But there are a couple of players in such teams that are untouchable.
For example,
instance, let's talk about Chelsea.
Okay.
No matter how flexible you are as a manager in Chelsea, you know Cole Palmer is untouchable.
At the moment.
Well, let's say at the moment.
Because at the point, Cole Palmer was not untouchable.
Well, he's only used one full season at Chelsea.
That's what I'm saying.
And in that one full season,
but when
he was untouchable.
But when he joined the team, the first 2-3 games he played, he wasn't really untouchable at that time.
It's normal.
That's what I'm saying.
Coming from the academy of
I feel like it is unfair to compare Chelsea's style of play to Man City's style of play.
Okay, let's talk about Erling Haaland.
Okay.
For Manchester City.
Okay.
I feel he's actually attained that level of being undroppable as well.
Yes, I agree with you. But then do you also agree with me that the absence of Erling Haaland might not really affect the performance of Man City to a certain degree compared to the way the absence of Cole Palmer will actually affect Chelsea? Take out Cole Palmer from Chelsea's last 5 games this season, Chelsea would suffer goal scoring. Because you have to rely on the likes of Nicholas Jackson, to try and get the goals for you. And we also saw, Madueke as well to try and get it. But again, Cole Palmer is the sting. It's like the catalyst for Chelsea at the moment. You want to liken him to the Sergio Busquets of FC Barcelona at the point in time. It dictates how fast the game goes.
I actually tagged him over the week like a high score.
No, he is. I'm telling you, Cole Palmer is everything that he is right now, and he thinks he is. But then there is something that Chelsea fans do that I think you all should stop doing. You can't start comparing Cole Palmer to Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi.
Chelsea fans, you can hear
that is a sick thing to do right now, because no doubt it's the first Premier League player to score 4 goals in the first half of a game. Fact, established. But then he should go on to score 100 goals in 131 games first.
Well, he's only just 22.
I'm not arguing with you, no doubt about that. Okay. But then we have players that have done amazing things as well. But then it is your ability to be consistent.
So you actually feel the hype around Cole Palmer's performance?
No, it's not hype.
Now it's
not hype, but I feel like there's a level you hype a player to.
Okay.
There's a level you hype a player to, and then you begin to do too much. Let's see Cole Palmer get injured. Let's see him come back from injuries and see if he can keep up the performance.
On the same level.
We saw a certain N'Golo Kante when he came to Chelsea. Kante was untouchable in the midfield. But the season after he went on injury, it was almost as if his gameplay started to decline before he eventually left the Premier League. So let me take you back to Phil Foden now. I feel like what Guardiola is doing with Phil Foden at Manchester City is not a thing of a player falling out of place with the manager. I feel like Pep Guardiola is just trying to look at the season. This is a very long season. The Champions League play is different. The pattern is different. You're going to play 8 games, 8 different opponents. You're going to see Phil Foden come play some Champions League games, because Pep Guardiola will not start the same 11 he starts in the Premier League in the Champions League. Pep Guardiola this season wants to win everything. Again, I put that to you. He wants to do that again, and he wants all his players in their right senses and with the best of legs as well. For Phil Foden is like it's like the yeast you put in your flour. It's like an additional sauce. The team is there already. Look at how important Gundogan is, to the point that Pep Guardiola had to call him back to the team. He could have as well just settled with Phil Foden. But settling with Phil Foden would mean that when Phil Foden gets injured, you barely have a replacement for him. It will mean that if Phil Foden is not up to the task, if he cannot deliver, you can't take him out of the game and bring someone else in to, put some fire in the game as well.
Victor, I really just hope that's the case. Like, it's just Guardiola being Guardiola trying to try some other tweaks to his game. Because over the weekend, I was kind of worried a little bit for Phil Foden, because over the years, it's more now like a football tenet, such that when a coach and a player gets to have this fallout between them, one has to leave for the other. It's either the coach gets the matching orders or the player leaves the team. We've seen that with Antonio Conte of this world, with Jose Mourinho, with Zinedine George and Osimhen. So I was actually scared. In the case of Pep Guardiola and Phil Foden, trust me, it's disadvantaged Phil Foden.
Yes, it is at the moment, but then I feel like first off, Phil Foden is still very young. He has a lot of years on his playing calendar, and he has really not done as much as he has to do. So I feel like there will still be a lot of opportunities for him to express himself and show himself that he's still that Phil Foden that we know him to be. Phil Foden now, of Man City at a point in time was who Cole Palmer is to Chelsea now. That was who he was. The Champions League, the previous season of the Champions League, it was that person for Man City getting the shots. He comes in, very little spaces. What Gundogan would not do, which is create chances and shoot. Phil Foden does it readily. For Gundogan is to find the passes and drop the passes, but Phil Foden takes on players, tries to get a goal in the net. So I feel like, for me, Phil Foden is not on the wrong side of Pep Guardiola. It's just a matter of Pep Guardiola trying to do things differently. And I feel like the player is even cool with it. Because for now, we haven't had any opera in the city.
So you think he's really cool with it? Put yourself in Phil Foden's shoe. Seeing Cole Palmer now make the headlines, getting into the limelight with reckless abandon.
And then remembering that both of you are playing for the England national team and you have to struggle
so
for
probably
a share.
that I'm being emotional now, which is not supposed to be. But then I just want to be as much as possible, feel this human emotion. So
but there will be that part then, but there will also be the part where Phil Foden will console himself with saying that I'm not the one carrying the team at the moment. All Chelsea fans can agree that Cole Palmer is the one carrying Chelsea at the moment. If Cole Palmer goes injured today, Chelsea's style of play would actually be messed up big time. They might try to adjust. They will definitely adjust eventually. But then if Phil Foden looks at it that way and says, okay, I feel like, for the fact that I'm not the only one that they are relying on my own team, and I'm just an option on the bench, then probably things are not going so bad for me.
Well, according to Victor, let's hope the relationship between Pep Guardiola and Phil Foden is still very much intact, and that it's just Pep Guardiola being Pep Guardiola. Well, that would lead us into talking about what we've always talked about.
Okay, which is
the level of consistency when it comes to officiating in the Premier League. It's really something we've always clamored for.
Permit me to use this word. It's been a shit show.
I feel it's highly inhuman. A manager going through the 5 days of a working week, taking the team through different processes during training, then gets messed up on the match day with some silly errors of the officiating manager. The referee.
Yeah, the referees.
It's really unfortunate. Especially, most noteworthy now is the red card, the recent red card, such that if you get to play off the ball after the whistle was gone, automatically a yellow card. Most of the players are quite now being unfortunate that's been their second yellow card so that they get their matching orders.
If you ask me, I feel like for me, football is actually a controversial game. And when you try to take out the controversy in football, it becomes something else. And the moment you tamper with the controversy that makes football what it is, you have to just keep up the standard. Now, the tweaking of rules season by season, every new season, there's a new rule for the handball, there's a new rule for the offside, there's a new rule for this, there's a new rule for that. I feel like that's the beginning of the problem. And they just have to keep up with it because they've started already.
So no one knows what.
So now it's almost as if when there is an incident, you have to now begin to go back to the rule book and start
saying, okay, we actually wrote this on so.
So this is the new thing. And we have some instances with some certain games, and then it happens in some other games, and you're like, why did the same punishment that was meted out in the previous game not meted out in this particular one? But then there are no answers to these questions. And then we get to watch these analysts on all these big platforms where they analyze the games and all that, and they get to tell us that sometimes, in fact, one common word that I've heard from a lot of them is, at the end of the day, the referees are humans. That is the baseline statement from most of them.
Human error.
They just say that. At the end of the day, the referees are humans. That is the most common sentence from them. And it just goes back to what I was saying, that football is supposed to be controversial. We can take our minds back to a certain World Cup game between Nigeria and Argentina, where we had a clear penalty against Argentina, but it was not
Yeah.
awarded. So many other games like that as well. One time I was watching the clip of Chelsea versus Barcelona. Was it 2012 now? I can't remember that Champions League game. It was one of the most abysmal Champions
Isn't
League
that
games
operable?
that I have watched. I mean, Drogba was robbed, Michael Ballack was robbed. I mean,
Yeah, I still remember
Anelka was
that
robbed.
game.
I mean, so many things went wrong in that game. That was far back many years ago. But then we thank God for the advent of technology.
VAR
But
and
then,
all.
do you know that even VAR itself can still be manipulated, can
Of
still be
course,
tweaked?
because at the back of VAR is they are
They are
human.
humans. Exactly what I was going to point out now. So it all comes down to the fact that at the end of the day, it is still human error. But then what I am saying is, since you started already, why not go all the way? I don't know why the Premier League is yet to adopt the use of the chip in the ball like the Champions League has already. The semi-automated offside technology. I feel like until the Premier League gets to adopt that, the cases of offsides and all that will not be totally ruled out. And then I feel like there needs to be a review of the the rules of
The rules.
fouls, and it should just be stated clearly. I do not know.
Documented in a single.
I mean, it's almost as if each referee has his own
their
understanding
personal of the rules.
of the rules, and there is a way they get to defend it at the end of the day. Sometimes I watch Monday Night Football and I watch them analyze how the referees, and they play some clips from when the referees are talking about what happened and why this one happened. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, so if this particular referee has that orientation, how do you make sure that the referee that will officiate another game where such same incident happens buys and goes in the same line of the former referee? But then at the end of the day, I feel like there's very little we can do. Football is controversial, and these controversies make it actually fun. So we just have to continue looking forward to more controversial calls
moments
in the Premier League. And like I said the previous season before now, I think I said to Michelle before now, I said he could touch everybody. That's what I usually say.
Everybody go
And
chop am.
yes, I mean everybody does collect and want. Now when it comes to the turn of your team, happily collect it like that.
So if everybody go chop am,
Yes.
now that it's not even still Manchester United turn to chop am, now they are still languishing in the certain position. Come to think, when the decision starts going against them, where do you hope to see them?
Well, it's
you see, Manchester United fans now utterly lack. I mean, for words.
The truth is, it's going to be a very long season for Man United. That's the sad thing. Do you know why I say so? Because we do not have the quality of players that we need to compete in this particular type of season. And what do I mean by this type of season? This is a season where the likes of Liverpool, the likes of Arsenal, the likes of Chelsea, the likes of a certain Tottenham, the likes of a certain Newcastle, the likes of a certain Brighton
on top of their game.
Are on top of their game. A certain Crystal Palace is also a threat in the Premier League at this moment. And Man United is failing to win games at home. If you can't win games at home, how do you go away from home to win games? Our next two games against Aston Villa and what's our next game after Villa? I can't remember, but now we're playing Aston Villa away from home.
Yeah.
I do not think you can take a point away from home.
I think the luckiest you would be is a point.
I think that's the luckiest we can have. Okay, yeah. Our next game is against Porto.
In the Europa League.
In the Europa League. Porto and Aston Villa. And both games are away from home. Following the loss to Tottenham. Now, I do not know what is happening at the camp of Man United, but I feel like the likes of Marcus Rashford, the likes of Bruno Fernandes, are not giving everything to the team anymore. That's what I think. Marcus Rashford especially has been very, very, very poor.
Don't you think you should cut Bruno Fernandes some slack?
Okay,
this is a certain guy who's offered a lot.
Some Man United fans will disagree with me. Well, no offense to you, but then it's my personal opinion. Because I feel like Bruno Fernandes has more than he's actually given. In all honesty.
Probably there are no new motivations.
Apart from that, I also feel like ETH Eric Ten Hag has a role to play in all that is happening at the team right now. Because we have a certain Garnacho who comes with so much firepower. If you watch the game against Tottenham Hotspur, Garnacho was the man of the moment in that particular game. He had so many attempts on goal, so many take-ons with players and all, but then a certain Marcus Rashford was just there. Garnacho made runs into the box, created a lot of chances and all that. But then nothing came out at the end of the day. But then we have a certain Marcus Rashford who is supposed to be the one carrying the team. Supposed now.
Yeah.
Because Marcus Rashford over the years has always done that. Some way or another, he gets to score a goal, when it is much needed.
Then for the past 2 seasons, now he's really gone deep in form.
Rashford,
it's a deep in quality.
Confidence has depleted completely from Marcus Rashford. I feel like that's a big problem on his own part that he needs to work on. And I feel like moving forward, Erik ten Hag has to put him on the bench. If I were the coach of Man United right now, Marcus Rashford would only start from the bench. Because the past 3-4 games in the Premier League that we have played, he hasn't really contributed anything to the team. And if you ask me as well, we have a certain Zexi who is actually doing very well as well for himself. Drops into the midfield.
Is he doing well?
For me, I feel like he is. Drops into the midfield, holds up play, creates spaces, draws out defenders from their...
But then he's not scoring.
He's not scoring because the supply is not sufficient. That's why I said a certain Bruno Fernandes can actually do better than he is right now. We have a certain Kobe Mino who is doing the dirty work in the midfield. Bruno Fernandes has more leverage to operate, but then some way, somehow, you find him falling deeper into the defense line. We don't want you back at the defense line. We want you up front there, moving the ball and creating chances. A certain Zexi can run at defenders. A certain Højlund as well can run at defenders. But then these players are not getting all the support they need. And I feel like defensively as well, Lautaro Martinez, Licha, actually needs to play down the aggressiveness in this game. Because it's going to cost us down the season if he's not careful. A lot. Because his tackles have been, way off. I feel like he should have gotten red cards, at least 2 this season, in my own opinion.
Out of 6 matches.
I'm honestly, in my own opinion. But then the referees somehow have been very temperamental with him and, tone things down. But then, Man United's problem, if we sit down here tomorrow, finish.
Victor, trust me, the least person you would want to be now is Erik ten Hag.
The pressure
is really buzzing. The pressure is mounting on him. If you were to be in his shoes now, what would you do to salvage the situation, at least for the next couple of games?
I think the first question I would ask Man United fans right now is, what style of play does Man United play with? What will be our style of play? Honestly,
well, I know a certain Manchester United fan out there. His name is Victor as well. Okay. He would tell me Manchester United plays presently non-existent football. Like that's the name of the tactic.
I mean, we are just chasing the ball. That's what I think. We're chasing the ball. We're trying not to lose the ball. We're trying to create chances to score. But then if I were Erik ten Hag, like you asked me now, I feel like I'll give the players more liberty to express themselves.
But the players are not turning up. Look at Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
Look at
this is not the problem.
Diogo Dalot. Yeah. Look at Lisandro Martinez. Everyone seems to be playing below average.
Well, I feel like it is also the work of the coach to motivate his players.
But I think Erik ten Hag, as it is now, has run out of words to motivate these guys.
So what do we do now? Do we send him packing?
Well, I guess most Manchester United fans out there would not wait to see the morning where they get to read on major sports outlets that's been let go.
I think according to research, and findings, I think what it cost Man United to let him go is about £17.5 million or thereabouts. But then letting him go at this point in the season, it's just 6 games into the season. And we think that he has a certain style of play in his mind. But then a certain Man United fan exposed to me that we have about 6 Ajax players in Man United at the moment. So is he trying to make Man United another Ajax? And funny how the same Ajax was a goal-scoring team when he was there with them. But then these players do not seem to be able to adapt to the style of play that he's bringing.
Victor, I think the earlier Manchester United fans out there realizes that regardless of bringing 5 to 6 players from Ajax to Manchester United, doesn't mean these players should play or perform at the same level in which they did at Ajax some years back. All right, football fans, we've come to the end of this very interesting installment of the Football Gazette podcast. Until some other time, so we'll get back here once again to dish out to you interesting stuff like this. So stay good and safe. Peace out.